Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the next Foreman Community Demo. Gilvin here, looking after you again today, and I'm bringing you today a demo from the site of a complete disaster because my laptop decided to crash just 10 minutes ago and took all of my data with it. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. We've got a boot error in Grub, something's not right. So I'm using my backup laptop, but that does mean I don't have any cover slides for you today. So I do apologize for that, but I will try and remember what's on them and give it to you verbally. So we've got a reasonable show for you today. We're gonna have a couple of presenters talking about some new things, and I'm going to cover a few things as well. And hopefully I can bring you the metrics that I just was putting into the slides 5 minutes ago from memory. But it's unfortunate that these things happen. You know, technical difficulties. It's the way it goes. So I'll kick off with my usual community updates. I don't have a huge amount to say that's new. So as I've been saying in previous demos, I've been working on improving the metrics for a while now, and that work is still progressing. There will be a dashboard that is confirmed now, and better yet, I won't be writing it, which is the best thing for everybody because I'm terrible at UIs. So I'm sorting out the data sources. Someone else is going to do a dashboard, and that should be nice and shiny. I can give you some basic metrics. The bug counts are relatively static. We have slightly more opened bugs, slightly less closed bugs this last 3 weeks, but not by very much. The numbers haven't changed. I will be sure to put these numbers into the email that goes to the Foreman mailing lists as usual. So you will get a copy of them if you're interested. I just can't bring them to you right now because those slides have unfortunately disappeared. So I can tell you a little bit about, so the bug counts haven't really shifted. The PR counts are about the same. Open-closed PR counts are, again, haven't changed very much. I think there's 320 closed PRs, about 100 open PRs. Didn't get a chance to do the metrics on like per component, core, Catello, installer, that kind of thing. But roughly speaking, those are consistent numbers to last time. The mailing lists metrics that I've started publishing, again, very consistent, around about 22% posts that are unanswered, and around about 44% community support, which is fine. Obviously, the big statistic that I want to talk about a little bit is package downloads, because as you've probably heard, Foreman release candidate 112 release candidate 1 was made available this week. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But just in terms of metrics, we're already seeing over 100 people downloading that, so that's very, very cool. Thank you to everyone who's getting out there and testing it. This is a big release since it brings in the Puppet 4 support. And we want to make sure that that's working properly. So thank you very much for all your testing. So I'll come back to 112 in a little while and talk a bit more about it. And I will also talk about a few other things a bit later on. But I'm going to stop boring you. And we're going to move on to our presenters. So before I do that, the usual channels apply. Please feel free to ask questions in the YouTube Q&A app. Please feel free to ask questions in IRC. Either of these things are fine, and I will be monitoring them and looking for them. With no further ado, then, I will hand over to Lukasz, who's going to talk to us a little bit about his CSV framework.
Okay, thanks. So obviously, we've been busy with bugs, and I was working on two little things this sprint. One of these is we have a Hammer CLI CSV plugin, which is which aims to deliver CSV exporting and importing experience, and it works with all our APIs and somehow handles the pagination, and it works well. There was a request by somebody to do a CSV export that would be faster. I was thinking like maybe we can put together a quick and dirty rake task, and this actually hack was merged upstream recently. So I was thinking about presenting you. The new rake task is called export CSV. So obviously we may add new formats later on, and the whole thing is just a tiny source code in a tasks exports rake. And the idea here is to create a very tiny DSL in quotes. It's something very dumb and easy, and using a DSL statement export a template, you're able to define an exporting template, give it a name. You can enable it or disable it, and then you you're handed over the CSV exporter. This is standard Ruby library CSV writer. So you actually write to it as into an array. And there are two of them, header and data. So into header, you want to dump the header from the first line, which you can hide or show if you want, according to the configuration or input. And data is obviously for the data. And there are two examples in the file. One is giving you a list of managed hosts, and it uses a join. The other, which is disabled by default, it only works if you have discovered. Gives you a list of discovered hosts. It uses a slightly different approach, find each, which should be also very fast. And the idea is if you want to create any other kind of exporting tasks, you can define etc foreman exporters.rbconf, and this rake task searches for this path and it requires this file if it exists. So you can easily define your own exporters, and then you can run the task and get what you want. So this is very fast. It doesn't replace the Hammer plugin, which is more more featured. It's a complementary tool. Maybe I was thinking if you like it, maybe, and if you what will make this successful is of course those templates. So if you deliver an useful templates, we can maybe expand this and make this as an API call, perhaps. So we can maybe extend the Hammer CLI CSV plugin with ability of exporting those predefined templates. So this is contrast to the Hammer plugin, which uses our API that works only per individual resources. This you can use anything you want. Here you're using obviously a Rails active record, so you can join tables and stuff like that. So you can create your very own exporting table or export. So yeah, if you're interested in subscriptions perhaps, or if you're interested in templates, you can export that, of course. So yeah, just let me quickly show you. It has a couple of options. It's all here. Basically, output templates, template names you want to export, or if you don't provide, that will be all. And header if you want to generate a header or not. So it's as easy as that. This is my development environment. BE means monthly exec. So you usually use on production system. You usually use, I think it's Foreman-rake. So it will be Foreman rake exports CSV, and then we have a new file in the command directory. If you don't provide the output, it will create it. As you can see, there's a couple of debug lines here. That's because this is my development environment. So for each individual export template, I call this a template, whatever, there is a new CSV created. I have only one managed host right now because I'm working on the unified stuff. Anyway, that was the exporting rake task. If you like it, please send your PR with your own exporters. If you don't, maybe we can delete it later. Whatever, it was just a hack. The other thing I want to show you now is a new Hammer plugin, which is called Foreman Admin. So the gem name is Hammer Foreman Admin, I guess. Hammer Foreman Admin, yeah. And this is a starting point for. I hope this is the starting point for all other Foreman management, things. So the first subcommand, it currently, if you do Hammer admin. So if you install this plugin, RPM, it's a very small plugin. It's called RubyGem CLI Foreman admin. You get a new command which is called hammer admin, obviously, and that only have one subcommand which is logging. So if I do a hammer admin login, this is the first and only subcommand or task or whatever which is implemented. And we had a request. A couple of requests in the last years, because when you want to enable logging on a Foreman instance, you need to go into various places. You want to maybe enable debugging on the Postgres server because you're having some issues with the syntax errors or whatever. You want to enable debug in info on the Rails, on the HTTPD and stuff like that. So admin logging is a new command that gives you possibility to do this very easily. So first you can list all the possible, I call these components, which are available. Those components are defined, or the existence of a component is determined by existence of a file, which is usually a configuration file. So as you can see, the admin logging command recognizes quite a few components, and obviously it will only work if the configuration file does exist. So this is a Foreman core instance. So for example, Tomcat is not installed on this system, so it will obviously skip the configuration of this component. Components are defined using a simple YAML syntax. So in the ATC Hammer CLI modules logging core, you find all the Foreman core definitions, and in underscore Cotello you'll find all the others. And it's undocumented, but it's pretty obvious. For each component, you give it a name, the configuration file that its existence makes it work, and then you have a debug and production two sections where you can where you can define actions, which actions are not documented, but you can copy and paste it from existing definitions, and you can always run command on a file. So here this is special case for Rails YAML. We're using set string editor. But you usually don't want to define this. You usually just want to use it. The pull request for RPM package was issued, I think, yesterday. So hopefully this will land a nightly RPM repo soon. And how it works, it's very easy. So I want to switch over to the debug for all components. So I'll do -d-a, and it will do it for me. It was pretty fast. I can also do verbose to actually, what was the, oh, I think if you want to see it verbosely, you need to do this. It's D like for debug, I guess, yeah. As you can see, here we can see what it's doing. What's important, it creates a backup files. So if I do search for find name, this is actually a timestamp, just like that. Yeah, so it creates the backup file. So if I do diff this and that, I'll actually see, oh, there was nothing, no change. Let me try, format proxy should work. Yes, it will actually do what's documented on our site. What happened? Debug. Oh, it was on debug, so let me switch it over to perhaps production. Edit. So that's P, production, and -A stands for all. So then let me just quickly open up, should be, error. Log level is now error instead of debug. So there's a couple of other options. You may want to only, enable debug on maybe proxy or so you provide a component -c and stuff like that. There's also dry run. So and you can skip debugs as well. So this is this should be de facto standard for setting up debug mode, which as you know, was always a pain. We have a documentation, but it's nice to have a tool that's it's easy for our users to do this. And I'll go ahead and update our documentation with that, so it's better awareness. And I think that's it. So your questions or comments?
Thanks very much, Lukasz. I'm just looking to see if we've got any questions at the moment. Sorry, just 1 second. I just need to clear my throat. Okay, that's better. So, yeah, I'm not seeing any questions in RC. Oh, wait, no. Marek has a question for you. He asks if Hammer config debug log level, does it work remotely, or does this only work if you've got Hammer installed on your Foreman server?
Yeah, very good question. Thanks. It actually only works locally, so it's expected to install this plugin on the Foreman server itself. And I hope we'll expand and maybe move some rake tasks, maybe other things to here, because Hammer is a great interface. It's a great platform. So we have internalization, we have all the help screens, everything, validators or option validators and stuff like that. So we can take advantage of that, and perhaps with more comments. So if you have an idea, or if you want to create a script in a Foreman scripts directory, please think maybe about creating a new subcommand of the admin Hammer CLI client CLI plugin, because it's very easy. It's actually a couple of files, 1 or 2 files, and you're done.
Cool. I mean, it's a good question, because I think obviously a lot of people don't install Hammer on the Foreman server itself, right? It's intended to go on your machine so you can automate things rather than going to the web browser. So I think it's a cool tool. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But I do think if we can move things so that people can continue to use it remotely where possible, I think that would be even more cool, right? So that's really, really interesting. So we've got another question. Beav would like to know if the logging, does it restart things as necessary? So if you change the logging of Foreman, does it restart it? If you change the logging of the proxy, that kind of thing.
Good question. Services are not restarted, so you need to restore them manually.
Okay, fair enough. So it's just about taking away the pain of finding which thing you're supposed to change.
Exactly, and I've also included all the underlying provisioning services. So if you what was the list? If I return here so it will also set up a named DHCP, DNTFTP. It's a little bit, maybe frustrating for someone who's not familiar with those services, ISC services, to configure it. So it will do this for you, and then you can switch it easily back.
Makes perfect sense, yeah. And I think that's a good thing, because people, how many times do we get people in IRC just saying, I couldn't work out how to do this. How do I change logging? So that's a really good one. And then obviously all the others are just helpful little things. Once you've done it once, you might as well extend it, right? So cool. Okay, so hang around and we will see what else we get in terms of questions. But for now, that seems to be it. So thanks very much, Lukasz. So I'm going to move on to Amir now, who wants to give us, I think, some update on email styling and such things.
Hi, guys. Just a second. I'll show you 2 small features which are mainly for developers. The first one is about inline styling, which has been separated from emails. So as you can see here...
Could you make that a bit bigger?
Yeah.
Super. Thanks.
So as you can see, it's about the CSS. So no need to use inline styling at all. You can create your classes here and use it by here. Second is about settings. Let me share the screen about that. So settings is now supporting select input out of the box. As you can see here, the select input is now I'll show you in the code how it's happened. Just a sec. So you just pass a proc with an hash, which the key is about the value, the setting value, and the value is about the presented text. So all you need to pass is a proc in the collection here. As you can see, I enlarged the text so you can see it. And that's it. You pass the proc here, and it's automatically, you can see it by the setting itself. Any questions?
I have a small comment. It looks like we always, I'm not sure if 100%, we always provide a a hash with the same key and value. So I have a patch which is not yet ready for merge that also enables to accept an array. So if you provide an array, it will it will work. Just one small warning: if you have a development environment and you reload a single, or you reload a setting, I think it's this any setting actually, it will cease from working. So
yeah, I already fixed that. I
cool.
already fixed that. You can see the PR.
Cool.
So
it was driving me crazy, but yeah, it's very useful. Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks. Any other question?
I don't see any other questions just now. So thanks very much, Amir. That's cool stuff. Hang around, guys. I'll keep an eye, because obviously the YouTube streams are on a little bit of a delay, so do hang around a little bit, and we'll see if any other questions come up. So I've just been quickly tinkering away. Fortunately for me, my metrics do not live on my laptop, so I was just quickly redoing the metrics slides while you guys were talking, so I can actually show those now. So let me bring that up. Hopefully this displays. I've only got one monitor here, so it's hard for me to check if it's displaying properly. Do you guys see that? I would help if I actually changed to the right person. There we go. So here's the numbers. So pretty similar. They haven't really changed from last month. Not much there to say. Obviously 112 starting some installs, and very, very good to see that. These are the bugs from Redmine. So again, not much to say. Very small deviations, very consistent. Still don't say anything. That's interesting. That's bizarre. Let me try that again. Okay, that should work now, I think. Yes, that should be working now. Okay, so that's the start of the community updates. These are the numbers for the downloads. About 100 for 112 RT1. The rest are in the thousands, which is consistent with previous months. The Redmine stats all sort of plus or minus 10, which is really not a big deviation. So that's fine. I haven't got the PR data on here. That one is harder to calculate and requires some time, so I will put that in the email. And the unanswered posts, is, as I say, about 20% unanswered, about 40%, 44% community support. So very consistent with our last community demo. Community is ticking along, plenty of content coming in, plenty of things being opened and closed. Nothing really notable. It's all just working very smoothly. So very happy with that. So I will cover a few last things and then we will wrap it up, I think. So the first thing I'll cover is if you haven't already heard when we've got 112 RC1 out, I said I'd talk a little more about that. The headline feature here is undoubtedly the Puppet 4 support, but there is more to talk about. So if you were to head on over to manuals, foreman.org manuals, 112, not 111 as I just put in. There we go. Come on, internet. There we go. So you'll be able to have a look at the release notes 112. Now we haven't exactly decided what to put in the headline features yet. This is something we talk about as we go through the release candidate process. But you can at least come and look at all the bugs that have been closed, and there are a lot. So this is good news. From there, we can. So please do go and try it. Please come and test it. Tell us what's wrong with it. Tell us what's broken with it. Particularly, we'd like to hear from people testing it with Puppet 4. And we've added Ubuntu Xenial support in this one as well. So it would be interesting to hear from people trying it on the latest version of Ubuntu and seeing if they hit any issues, whether there's any problems. We think it works. Obviously, we've done as much testing as we can. That's why we have a release candidate program. So that's all good stuff. I'll talk a little bit about upcoming events as well. So for those who don't know where to find it, I'd like to update the website a little bit at some point. But if you head to documentation, there's an events page here. So worth knowing about what's coming up. Next week we have two really cool things. So Chris Dury is going to come and join us and give us a little bit of an intro on SQL debugging, how to work out why things are slow, running explain queries on your database, things like that. So that should be really cool. And then on Thursday, a week from today, I've got a case study with Matt Nicholson, who has written the Infoblox plugins for the Smart Proxy. So he's going to come and talk about those, and then we're going to widen the discussion a little bit and talk a little bit about what it's like trying to integrate Foreman into an existing infrastructure. You know, there's always those third-party systems. You always want to be talking to something that nobody else is dealing with. So how do you go about doing that? So we're going to talk a bit about that. Looking a bit further ahead, if you're not aware of Red Hat Summit, Foreman will have a presence at Red Hat Summit, so if you're going, come and see us, we'll be there. I'm also trying to organize a meetup outside of Summit, so for those who aren't going to Summit itself, but will be in the area anyway, or happen to live in the area out on the West Coast, San Francisco, then there should be a meetup there, and that's going to be cool, hopefully. It's also worth saying I'm trying to get some other meetups off the ground. So I'm looking for people in various parts of the world. We mentioned this on the community survey back in February, but and a few people said they were interested in helping out with this, but I don't know who they are because surveys are anonymous. So if you're one of those people, please get in touch with me. I'm looking to start try and get at least a few one-off things up and running. Next month, July, there is a combination of factors which I think are worth celebrating. The first one is that Foreman will be 7. It's our 7th birthday in July, and then we'll have the 112 release, and that will bring the Puppet 4 support, which people have been wanting for a very long time. So I think it's worth making a big noise about this. I'm going to see if we can organize some release parties or something, or some kind of meetup things. So if you're interested in being a part of that, or if that's something you would at least like to attend to give me an idea of numbers, then let me know. So with all of that, I think that's everything we've got to cover today. Oh no, there was one more thing actually. There were a couple. Let's just see if we can find one more thing. There were a couple of other bugs that I wanted a few more presenters to come and talk about. Sadly, they weren't available. So the two things merged by Timo Goebel, who is a big welcome to him, by the way. He's will be, I think, there's 1 day left, I think, tomorrow, unless anyone objects. He's going to end up with commit rights on core, so new community maintainer for Foreman core. That's wonderful to see. He has merged a lot of IPv6 things into Foreman core. So if IPv6 is something that's important to you, then that's exciting news, and I hope to get him on the next community demo to talk about the whole of that work, because it's quite a few PRs and quite a few bugs. So he's busy today anyway, but he felt it would be better to wait until a bit more of it was merged in and ready to go. So we're going to talk about that hopefully next time. He's also merged a bug relating to VMware. Let me just pull it up and remind myself of the exact details. It's a very old bug. It's 3910. So you know, right back in the midst of time, and it's all about, that's right, it's all about adding CD drives to hosts. So this is something that's useful for certain VMware setups. It's a long-standing bug that people wanted, so now you can do that. So that's great from him. There's also a bug from Imri. Lukash might be able to talk about this actually. A bug from Imri Zvik about extending the discovery image. So if I just pull up, it's 14. Bring it up here. 14.288. I know you're not seeing this anymore. I killed my screen share in case because I had IRC open and things like that. So yeah, this is his feature request about locking hosts into discovery. Lukash, do you want to talk about that, or shall I do it?
Yeah, I can talk about it. I haven't prepared any.
No, it's fine. Neither have I, but it stops people having to listen to me droning on for like 20 minutes, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so let me just open up. What was the pull request? Can you paste it?
I can. The pull request is here. Let me put it to you in IRC.
Discovery. No, I've got it.
You got it. 265, yeah.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I totally forgot. I wonder why this was not on your list. So we have a new feature coming into Discovery. Obviously, this will be as part of a plugin compatible with 1.12, and there are new two settings on the settings, administered settings discovered, and which are called Discovery Log and Discovery Log Template. And if you set Discovery Log to true, the PXE configuration will, pin to be the host will be always discovered if you reboot it. And you also want to provide a Discovery Log template, which is the second setting, which is defaults to PXE Linux _discovery, which is the template log template name. So this template will be rendered the moment you actually provision the host. I guess it's that during the provisioning. Let me double check. Yeah. Oh, it's actually during the discovery. So once the host is discovered, it will always be discovered. So this is a little bit special case, but it could be useful. And one additional point, we've actually refactored the discovery in the community templates. The PXE Linux discovery new template is now a snippet, which is then used in the default PXE Linux, global default template. So we're actually reusing some code. In the future, we would love to somehow, because until today or still, if you install Discovery, you need to modify the template. At least you need to uncomment the Discovery, PXE Linux statements. We would love to automate this. So if Discovery plugin is installed, it will be added automatically. There are some couple of limitations, technical limitations. We can't do this yet. There are a couple of, I think, 2 issues or enhancements we need to do. So this is a nice improvement there. Thanks. It's a great addition.
Cool. Thanks very much, Lukash. Bonus feature, love it. No, it's really good to see that get in there, because I know Imri was talking about that on our case study recently. So it's good to see that got merged.
And It's sorry to grab one more minute, but it's a good opportunity for me to do a little advertisement. Both Foreman Discovery Git repo and Foreman Discovery image, there are a couple or maybe 10 in total of pull requests made by me, and since folks are a little bit busy, the Red Hat Summit is incoming, so the usual reviews, Stephen and Ori are a little bit busy. So if you have some time and you know Foreman Discovery or Discovery Image, or this is your cup of tea, please go ahead and do review and test the code. I'd be very happy to have some new features, interesting features and fixes in the incoming release for Foreman 1.12. So if you want, go ahead and ping me. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Lukasz. And yeah, absolutely. For anyone out there watching, don't think reviews are the reserve of the core developers, right? Anyone can get in and review things if they're interested in a particular feature or a particular ticket. We welcome the community trying to review things. It's actually one of the best ways to get to know the code base. And there's no such thing as a stupid question. Just get in there and start asking, and you'll learn things. So I think that about wraps us up for today. I will just do a last check and make sure there's no remaining questions. I don't see any. So with that, say thanks to Lukasz and to Amir for coming on. Thanks also to all the other contributors that made the 1.12 release possible, and also the contributors particularly that we've talked about today, Imre, Timo, and others. So that's everything for today. We will see you again for another community demo in another 3 weeks. And as I said, there are other content things on the schedule for next week. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Do take care.